Hello, my name is Ataksha. Today, I am here to talk about my midterm for biology honors. For part 1 of this midterm, I decided that I would develop the grasslands and fields as well as the forests, while protecting the wetlands and forest edges. My rationale was that the animals that lived in the forest edges, like deer and ringneck pheasants, are declining at a rapid pace, and it would be unwise to meddle with their habitat at this stage of time. The wetlands are also going to be protected since the animals there, which are barred owls and salamanders, are declining gradually. The forests are being developed as there are a lot of land that can be used for building houses and is presently covered with trees. Even the populations of the animals there are stable. I also decided to develop the grasslands and fields, as the grasslands can be used to raise infrastructure and the fields to grow cash crops. The populations of the animals there are mostly stable too. As for predicting the populations of the animals of the changes are made, I predicted that the animals living in the forests and grasslands might have a slight decrease since their habitats are being tampered with and are presently in a stable condition. As for the animals that are endangered or threatened, they might have a chance to rebuild their numbers since their habitat is not being changed or affected in any way, as I made sure to protect the lands where these animals live. I thought it was essential that we protect these kind of animals, as we don't want them to go extinct, which will displease the citizens of the West Page Borough, who value the balance of the community. My plan also balances the needs of the residents as well as of the environment. As for the residents, now they have more place to live in. Also, new schools and parks will be built. Schools where children can learn about the interdependence of man and his environment and hopefully do something to help it. Also, parks will be constructed where greenery shall flourish. As for the animals, they are no longer being threatened or declining at a rapid pace. The oxygen carbon dioxide cycle will also be balanced out, since man will plant trees to compensate for the loss of those in the forest. In the future, this town also needs to consider the animals that were affected by the development and what to preserve and what to develop in case another situation like this arises. They will also have to think about the lost trees and how to balance the carbon oxygen cycle and also control the soil erosion. They must also think about how ecosystem services are going to be provided to the increased number of people living. And also they must think about what the animals eat and what they should do to try and protect that food for the animals. Also, originally, West Pageborough was receiving numerous services like air, water, fossils, wood, food, soil erosion prevention, and other raw materials. But unfortunately, my plan does impact some of these services. For example, the amount of food being produced will change, since more people calls for more food. Even the amount of gas being used to fuel cars will increase, as more people means more cars, which in turn means more gas. This also has long-term impacts, as increased demand for gas can mean that we are spending our non-renewable items way too quickly. And by cutting down trees, the carbon cycle will be disrupted, as there are less trees to take in carbon dioxide and release oxygen into the atmosphere through photosynthesis. Even food production can be affected, as less trees means less sources of food. Also, raw materials like wood can become scarce and difficult to get, since the trees in the forest are being cut down, making wood more expensive and precious day by day. Even the soil erosion might increase, since there are not enough trees to hold the top layer of the soil, which is extremely fertile in some cases, from eroding. This will also impact the animals living there, as some might lose their food, while others might lose their shelter. In order to make up for these services lost due to my plan, West Pageborough will have to carefully plan out the development, and it is essential that they carry out each and every step slowly and gradually, and not make a tremendous change at once, as this can disrupt the entire ecosystem. For example, if a clear cut takes place, There will be immediate impacts like lack of food, plenty of wood for plenty of wood for a short time, and signs of erosion of the topsoil, and also signs of decrease in oxygen levels, along with sedimentation of streams and lakes and the flooding of water sources. On the other hand, if the trees are subdued over a period of time, say 1 2 years, the impacts will still be seen, but the effects of the impact can be reduced. This will also give us some time to think of alternatives based on the effects of the changes being implemented. If something is being done wrong, it can be corrected before it is too late and all the work has been done. This is also a method of sustainable development, since we are keeping in mind the future and the consequences of our actions now on the future generations, like the depletion of non-renewable materials and topsoil erosion. I can make a few changes to my original design to minimize the negative impact to ecosystem services. Firstly, I can reduce the number of trees to be cut down so that there is less impact to the environment in terms of oxygen and carbon dioxide levels, which will be stable. It will also prevent soil erosion and flooding of water bodies. It will also have a positive impact on the animals living in that habitat, as their home is not as threatened as it was. Secondly, I can control the infrastructure and where what is going to be built. For instance, if there are animals that are declining or not stable, but the situation demands that we build something over there, maybe we could build a park that sort of resembles the habitat of the animals, as well as a recreational area for us. Lastly, I can, if it is absolutely necessary, reduce the amount of land I'm going to develop and increase the amount of land I'm going to preserve, therefore affecting less animals and keeping the ecosystem stable. These potential changes could affect my original wildlife conservation or development efforts, depending on which change we're talking about. If we're talking about reducing the amount of land that I'm going to develop, then yes, it will affect the original wildlife conservation, as less land means less impact to lesser number of animals. It will also affect my development efforts, as I'm not getting more room to accommodate people and give them recreational and educational locations like parks and schools. Also, if we're talking about cutting less trees, it can affect the original wildlife but not necessarily my development efforts. It can affect the wildlife, as less trees being cut means more food and more fresh oxygen, which can in some cases help threatened animals increase in numbers, as they have the essentials of life and an untouched habitat. But if we are talking about it affecting our development efforts, then I don't think it will have a major impact in a long-term way, because a few trees is not going to be a big difference to our plan of introducing infrastructure. Even if we do cut down trees, we can always grow them back. Thank you for your time and patience. This is Ataksha, and this is my development plan.